if they didn't go along, let's say the bill came along, if they didn't go along with what the bill says, and there was a halt on construction dollars, that the Port of New Orleans, the Superdome, and some of these other entities in New Orleans wouldn't be affected.
They would not be affected. That's absolutely correct. It's important to note. So the current policy that deems New Orleans under the bill a sanctuary city policy is in place by the New Orleans Police Department. Okay? The bill would only affect the New Orleans Police Department's ability to access public financing. It doesn't have this broad sweep that would catch the Superdome and the Convention Center and the ports. That is what they claim. Of course, a lot of times what they claim is not true, but they claim it only because they're trying to frustrate the process. I would challenge them to show me where in the bill it says that. It does not. It says that it basically deems what the policy is. Logic would say that the person who implemented the policy would be the person who it affects.
Okay, so you're saying the only
That's not how that goes.
I'm sorry.
That's why I appreciate it, Melinda. I mean, again, the question is the belief that the bill has broad sweeping implications. Let me give you an example. Let's use Lafayette. Okay, the Lafayette Sheriff's Department. I know it's hard to distinguish between the city of New Orleans and NOPD, and I get that. Okay, Lafayette Parish Sheriff's Department. They have a policy that says they will no longer hold illegals in their possession or question whether or not they're in the country illegally. That's a policy that the sheriff implements. What in the bill would determine that the sheriff's policy would affect the Lafayette Consolidated Government's ability to access public financing when, in fact, Joe DeRell's not the parish president, Joe Robideau had nothing to do with the implementation of that policy. You see what I'm saying? It should affect the person whose policy is implementing.
Okay, but you've got NOPD and you're talking about elected officials. That individual is appointed.
Right, but the mayor, that's right, but the mayor gets to instruct him.
So I just want to be clear on what it's affecting, because my understanding of the bill, many people's understanding of the bill, was that it was going to affect construction dollars to a number of entities in New Orleans. So you're saying if they were to ignore the bill, the implications for both Lafayette and New Orleans would be just affect NOPD or just affect?
Well, what's the question? The question is, what exactly would the bill affect? Let me back you. She brought something to my attention. And again, this is kind of getting into the weeds of the bill. However, the city of New Orleans appoints the police superintendent, correct? Right. The city, the mayor, has some discretion as to the instructions that he gives the superintendent. Okay? Whether or not the bill would impact the city of New Orleans directly for an action that the superintendent took in order to put in place a policy that would be deemed a sanctuary city policy is questionable. I would say that I would agree that if we put in the due process, the courts would narrowly interpret that, okay, and to affect just those particular entities. It may affect the whole city of New Orleans, potentially, but it wouldn't affect the Superdome. That's a separate commission. It wouldn't affect the Convention Center. That's a separate commission. The port has a different authority. Those entities are not having a say in whether or not the policy should be tailored towards a sanctuary city or opposed to it. Again, bringing the courts in, as we mentioned earlier, may help to clarify that. Again, I'm not opposed to that at all.